Hi, it's Paul here from Shropshire Classic Motorcycles, and what we do today is an instructional video on how to fit the T140 electric start kit. So the first thing I've done today is to remove the entire primary drive and fit the jig, and using the hole cutter supplied, I've removed the amount of metal that we need to access the starter motor. We're replacing the complete primary drive with a belt drive kit which runs dry, and to facilitate that we're blanking off these 3 breather holes here using the rivets supplied. And the next item is to fit the oil seal onto the crankcase. So here's the oil seal, and I'm just going to drift this in using some retainer. That's a seal nearly home with the metal facing outwards. I'm just going to drift that until it's absolutely flush with the crankcase. So that's the seal fitted, and then we're going to move on to the gearbox main shaft, and we're going to remove this inspection plate and replace it with the one provided in the kit. That's the new clutch inner inspection plate finished, and got all the screws in place. There's new screws in the kit. I'm just using a touch of Loctite 243 thread locker on it. So we'll just screw these home. So just going to put on the engine front pulley now, and that arrived assembled with the belt guides on it. So you need to unscrew, disassemble, and you just need the inner belt guide, and then just offer the pulley up onto the splines, and then we're going to drift that on now. Okay, so that's the front belt pulley fitted onto the engine, and you can see the belt guide just loosely at the back, so I can turn that. So next we're going to look at the clutch pulley, and we're going to attach the starter ring onto the clutch pulley now. Okay, so we've attached the starter ring to the belt drive pulley for the clutch, and it is a little bit tricky, I've got to be honest with you. So just to get it lined up, I've used a mandrel here, just so you can get the holes actually lined up. And I've just put 3 locating screws in at 120 degrees and wound them down till they're tight, and then give them a quarter turn, because this is holding the starter ring on, so it's pretty important that stays firmly attached. And we've taken the assembled clutch hub with the starter ring attached and put it on the clutch centre, and located the clutch centre onto the keyway on the gearbox main shaft. Placed the belt on the front pulley first, and then offered up the rear pulley and located it onto the belt as we push the whole assembly towards the gearbox main shaft. There's no easy way to do that. It can be a little bit tricky, but generally it should be okay. Don't forget to put the crossover shaft on first as well. we've got the clutch shock absorber unit ready to go on here, and you can see the new backing plate, and it's got these slotted clutch spring screws on the back, so just pop those in, locate them, and we're ready to put the clutch shock absorber unit on now. Because the clutch basket is slightly wider than the original, the spacing of the gearbox crossover shaft is fairly critical to avoid the horseshoe of the crossover catching on the clutch basket. And so what we've got to do is we're just putting a small aluminium spacer, which you'll see in the kit, and we're putting that on the gearbox crossover shaft just to restrict the movement there. So we just thread the belt on to the rear pulley, and it's already hooked onto the front pulley, and then we're just going to press on the clutch basket and engage the drive belt. So that's the clutch shock absorber unit fitted, and then we just have to go on to the front pulley and then locate the outer guide. So just line up the bolt holes with the inner guide and put the 2 screws in and secure. Just going to load the clutch plates up into the clutch basket and secure 2 screws for the guide plates on the belt drive. And that's pretty much that's the assembled primary drive now on the bike. There's the alternator going on, and crankshaft nuts, gearbox main shaft nut, that's all on. The clutch pressure plate, and you need to just make sure and just check the clearance on this gearbox crossover shaft, just to make sure it is a tight clearance there. So just make sure that that's not fouling with any of these screws that secure the starter ring. These little guys here. So that's pretty much it. The gasket's there, so we're just going to put the casing on now. Okay, so the case is secured onto the bike, all the screws fastened down, the 2 dome nuts there, new copper washers, just check that the crossover shaft is working smoothly, isn't fouling, and we're ready to go and fit the starter motor. So we're going to cross over to the other side of the bike, and starter motor is secured by these 2 bolts, Allen bolts here. Going to put those in, and we'll cross over and let's get the starter motor on. So there you can see the starter ring and the bush that we're going to place the shaft of the starter motor into, and that's how we locate the starter. And then you can see the 2 holes for the bolts there. We're going to screw those in to secure the starter motor to the primary case. And that's the starter motor in place, located in the primary chain case now. You can see the bolt holes. So we're going to fit these 8mm Allen bolts in. We've used the combo of Loctite 7063 just to make sure that these bolts are grease free, and then Loctite 243 thread locker to make sure they stay locked. And there we see the starter motor with its mounting fitted onto the primary case. That's bolted on there, and that's all the case. Gear change lever connected on, and the inspection covers attached, and that completes the mechanical fitting of the electric start kit.